Hello, my first graders. So, we have studied the desert and we have studied the rainforest, and usually Mrs. McGee saves the best for last. So, I save my favorites until last. And this year, being what it is, obviously things have been cut short and they're a little bit different, but we do get to fit in a little bit of studying of the ocean towards the very end. And the reason I keep it for the last part of the year is because the ocean is by far the biggest habitat on Earth. And within the ocean, there are so many different types of habitats that we're going to read about, study, watch videos on. And there's a lot of different choices of things that we're going to get to do for this. So today we're just going to start by, if you happen to have had this printed out for you. I sent it out and I put it on Google Classroom. It's the ocean. And I know it feels really big, but it's got such great information on it, and it's kind of something that we can work on, read through some pieces, do some different one-pagers and some different art projects all through this book. Now, if you're not using this book, that's totally okay. You'll notice everything that I write on is just a piece of paper. So if you want to get a piece of paper to follow along, you can pause me at any time. Today we're just doing an introduction, and I'm actually going to read you one of our favorite poetry books from our house called In the Sea, to give you some ideas of what ocean animals you might want to pick for your report, or if you have just one, you might have more than one, who knows. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is that more than 70% of our Earth is water. That means if we chopped the Earth into 100 pieces, we took the Earth, we chopped it up like a watermelon into 100 pieces, 70 of those pieces would be water, which means only 30 of those pieces would be land. That's pretty crazy. That means most of our amazing planet is water, which is why we call it the blue planet. So that would be our first note on this page, okay? And we write it like this: 70%, that's a percent sign, okay, of Earth is liquid water. That means not even counting the ice. Liquid water. Now, if you're reading along with me on this very first page, you don't need to write that down. You could underline it with your pencil or highlight it with a highlighter, okay? Now, the next thing that we want to pay attention to is if we put all the water from the Earth into a big giant bowl. So we take it all out of the Earth, we leave all the land, and we put all the water from the Earth in a big giant bowl. Almost all the water is salt water. That's pretty amazing. Salt water is what makes up our oceans and our seas. We cannot drink salt water. We have to drink something called fresh water. Fresh water is in our lakes. Fresh water is in a lot of our rivers and ponds. So we are talking about our ocean and our seas, which is salt water. So that would be our next note. And these aren't sentences, these are just notes. Salt water. So if you have ever played in the ocean waves, you have tasted salt water. And we can play in the ocean, we can have a good time in the ocean, we can even swallow the ocean water when we're in it, but we can't survive off of it. So I couldn't live in a boat in the ocean and just drink salt water all day. My body needs fresh water. So these are the two fun facts that we are learning about today. And then the other thing is we're going to learn there are lots of different habitats, in the ocean, but the ocean is also sort of like a hotel, just like that saguaro cactus in the desert, just like the kapok tree in the rainforest. The ocean has different levels as well. So that's going to be our next note for today. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the different habitats that we see, and then I'll read you the story. So the very first level of the ocean is called the sunlight zone. Now I want you to think about that real quick. Why would it be called the sunshine zone? Well, guess what? It's because the sun hits it. Whoa, duh, right? So it's called the sunshine zone because the sun actually touches that water. And we know from studying plants that when plants get sunlight, they can start making food. So all of your plants that are in the ocean are going to be in that sunlight zone because they have to have the sun to turn on that green power and to start making food. So you've got the sunlight zone, which is where all of your plants are going to be. And we're going to study that one tomorrow. After the sunlight zone comes the twilight zone. Now, what on earth is twilight? Well, I think I'll do it in this color. Twilight is actually something that happens outside our houses too. It's if you go out and the sun has already set. So the sunlight zone has gone down, sun has gone down. It's not pitch black yet outside. It's called twilight. It's sort of when the moon is lighting that sky. And so in the ocean, the moon isn't lighting it, but what it means is not a lot of light is hitting it. Not enough light is hitting it for there to be a lot of plants. And it's called the twilight zone. Okay, and we will learn about that one next. And that means there's not that much light in it. A lot of big ocean animals will go back and forth between these zones. They'll go into the twilight zone to sort of take a break, but then when they want to eat, they'll go into the sunlight zone because the sunlight zone is going to have all those plants and a lot of ocean animals. The last and the bottom zone in our ocean is the midnight zone. Now it's called the midnight zone, of course, because it is almost pitch black. So if you remember, if you've ever watched Finding Nemo, Nemo and Dory do travel to the midnight zone, and it is pitch black. So down in that midnight zone, first of all, a lot of animals can't even go there. And they can't go there because it's so far down in the ocean that the weight of all that water up on top of them is too heavy. So a lot of animals don't even travel down into the midnight zone. And then of course it's pitch black, they can't see. So you have to be an animal that has some sort of bioluminescence, which means you have something that Mother Nature's given you that lights up, like the anglerfish in Nemo. So if you get a chance to watch Nemo anytime soon, you might want to, just so you can start seeing some of these zones. I will also be putting videos for you up on Google Classroom so you can travel kind of through and see the differences. But these are our 3 zones that we will be talking about in terms of our ocean hotel. So it's kind of neat what Mother Nature has done in all the different habitats. She's really given us different levels where different animals and different plants can thrive and can live, depending on what adaptations they have. So animals that live in the sunlight zone can't adapt to the midnight zone. They would die there, and vice versa. So it's pretty interesting when you start to learn about it. So this is the basics of the ocean. And tomorrow we'll start going through each one, and we'll be making probably a one-pager for each. So if you have your ocean report, you can definitely read along, mark it up for the next few days with us while we're working on it. If you don't have a printer at home, or if you don't have it, then all you need is a piece of paper, and you can take notes with us and do drawings with us. It'll be fun. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And what I did want you to do this week was figure out which animal you wanted to do a mini report on. Nothing crazy, but there's so many awesome ocean animals. And if you did print out this report, it's kind of neat. In the back, after you go through the different levels, there is an animal part. And it doesn't go through all the different animals, but it talks about sea otters, sea stars, sea urchins, white sharks, Garibaldi, sea anemones, jellyfish, kelp crab, and that's it. So if you want to do one of those, your information is right here ready to go for you. If you want to pick something else, there's plenty of information on the web that you can find with the help from a grown-up, or in a book if you have it at home. So you can pick any animal you want. I, of course, always pick the humpback whale, which happens to be my favorite. So you'll be watching me sort of do my research on whales while you're doing your research on whichever animal you pick. So this story is called In the Sea. I love it for the art, and I love it because it's poems. And if we were in the classroom, of course, we would try to do our own In the Sea art project. The Seahorse. See the seahorse in the sea. Where else would the seahorse be? For though it's dainty as a wish, the seahorse is, you see, a fish. The shark, the fin, the skin, the brutal grin, the terror of the dark within. Isn't that cool? The octopus. You appear out of the blue, an 8-armed apparition, then vanish in a cloud of ink. No ghost, but a magician. The starfish. 5 fingers, like a hand. The starfish shines in a sky of sand. The urchin, spiny. The sardine, tiny. The mackerel, shiny. The shrimp, briny. So you might want to pause the video even to look at those different animals. This page has 4 different ocean animals on it. The herring. Nobody's fool. How could she be? She lives in a school. The dolphin. He jumps, he leaps, he twirls, he spins. He's the jester of the briny deep, an acrobat with fins. The orca. You breach the water's surface in your black and white tuxedo, then disappear into the blue, an elegant torpedo. the sea turtle. Swims the 7 seas for 30 years, then finds the beach where she was born. By magic, it appears. How can she know to come upon that far and sandy place? Rare instrument of nature, fair compass in a carapace. Coral, as solid as a rock, as colorful as heather. Coral's living proof, it pays to stick together. Anemones, got a lot of zing, by which I mean, watch out, they sting. The clownfish is not an enemy of an anemone. In fact, it is anemones made, for which anemone stings its enemies, and that's how friends are made. So if you remember, we studied the sea anemone and the clownfish and how they're good friends in the ocean, and they work together. They both have adaptations to work together to stay alive and to stay safe. Again, if you watch Finding Nemo, you'll find that in the coral reef at the beginning. That's where those animals live, in the coral reef habitat. The moray eel, ferocious, cunning, belligerent, brave, a sword without its sheath, a dragon in its cave. The chambered nautilus, her shell spins round, atop a dancer, a staircase with no end, a question with no answer. The giant squid, few have seen him, few wish to. Hide from this one, that's what fish do. The pufferfish, a trickster, a clown, a magician, a buffoon. 1 minute she's a fish, the next she's a balloon. The blue whale rises to the surface, an island, a mountain, all fluke and fin and fountain, the largest animal alive. Sings a shanty deep and slow, of winds that rage and storms that blow, of shipwrecked sailors down below. Oh, where they are, we cannot go. And then she dives. So one of the fun things that you can do with this book is you can go back in the video and pause it on the page that you like, and you can write out that same poem, and you can draw the picture if you want. One thing that I find every year when we study the ocean is I don't have one favorite. I have a lot of favorites. And so that's the neat part about learning about animals. You don't have to write a full 5-page report or 4-page report in first grade. You can do an awesome 1-pager, which is where you draw the animal and you write notes about the animal. And you can take notes on a bunch of different animals. So that's what we're gonna do this week. It's gonna be really fun, and next week. And I'm gonna mix in some whale stuff for you guys. And a lot of times I have to link you to other people's YouTubes because mine take really long to load. And so a lot of times you'll see that I link and ideas for drawings to other people's because they're already on YouTube for you to find and you to see. Also, I'm gonna link you to a lot of National Geographics for kids, because the best way to learn about the ocean is for us to actually see the animals in their habitat. So that's what we're gonna do this week. So it's gonna be really fun. So I wish I was with you to teach you about this because it's my absolute favorite, but thank you for still wanting to do this with me our last 2 weeks of first grade. And I love you and I miss you, and there's no place like home. Although sometimes I do wish that we could be like Magic School Bus and go down into the ocean. That'd be pretty fun too. All right, bye.